Welcome. Happy New Year. People are connecting to their audio. I love it. We are recording this bad boy as we start 2024. Mr. Swartz getting his workout in. I love it. So inspirational. I got my hoops in this morning, my man. I got to stay young and fit, keep up with you. And Frank Crandall, good to see you. Eric Katz, good. I don't see you, but I know you're here. You like never miss a meeting, my man. I love it. You're always plugged in, getting the latest info. It's awesome.
Thank
We got
you.
some new names, new faces, which is great. That shows we're a really growing organization. I don't recognize Malcolm, Shalina, Hamid, but that's great. I love it. Welcome. This is our Atomic Habits, powered by EXP. Actually, our Facebook group, which you should join. If you don't know about it, go to Facebook and search under groups and put in Atomic Habits powered by EXP, and it'll pop up, and hit in there to join. You'll be accepted. And we put all the recordings from our trainings throughout the week into there. So that's a good resource. If you happen to miss a meeting or what have you, you can go there. I also do put the recordings on my YouTube channel. So if you're like, oh my gosh, I can't remember, I'm not on Facebook, just go to my YouTube channel, Matthew Stewart Real Estate, and you'll find the recordings there, usually 2 days, max 3 days after. So good stuff. We'll just give it one more minute for people to come on, others that are trickling in, but it's great to see everybody. Although we don't have many cameras on. It's interesting. I got Brett in the gym and he's got his camera on, but I got others that are just dark screen and names here. So I want to encourage you. I want to lovingly push you, turn them cameras on. Show us your money makers. I mean, look, I'm showing you my money maker, right? You see that, Brett? That's what happens. You go to 2 weeks in Puerto Rico and, all of a sudden you hike in the rainforest, you get some caterpillar hanging on your lip, and there you go. We're off and running. But hey, let's get going. I am super excited that we have one of our top brass at EXP taking time out of his busy schedule to come and join us today. His name is Brian Ellington. He is our CLO, Chief Learning Officer. And let me give you a little background on this guy. Like, this is an incredible hire for us, and that's something that is really just an amazing talent for business, is to hire and retain top talent, and EXP is doing it. He's got a robust background in education and technology. He was the chief operating officer for Century 21, senior vice president of the Learning Center of Excellence. That was Realogy. And if you don't know Realogy, it's now called Anywhere. That's Century 21, Coldwell Banker, ERA, Better Homes and Gardens, Sotheby's, and so many other brands. He was the senior vice president of the Learning Center of Excellence, and that is their integrated learning institute. And he is like really good at developing agent curriculums and growth focused leadership programs and so on. We're just super blessed. He also was about 15 years, I think. Is that correct, Brian, at Keller Williams, where you did the
That's
national
right.
brand award-winning, learning efforts there?
Yeah, that's right. I was their chief products officer, chief learning officer, and COO for their international franchising while I was there.
My man, you're kind of a big deal. We're super blessed to have you at the beginning of the year. I love it. I don't want to take any more of your time because I've asked you to come, with both barrels blazing. We are recording this, so, we have light attendance today, but there are people on the back end that are going to come and be really blessed by you. And so fire away. I want you to take the reins.
All right. Well, thanks for that intro. And by the way, I'm going to tell my wife you said I was a big deal. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Um,
right?
well, thanks for letting me come play, everybody. Nice to meet you. By the way, if you're with EXP, you can always find me on Workplace. Just make sure I have both an agent account and a chief learning officer account. My agent account has a big X, so that should be pretty obvious. Hit me on the chief learning officer account so I can help you with whatever you need. Delighted to be here. So what Matthew left off was the most important thing I've done in my life. I have my wife, Marette, and my 4 beautiful children that keep me very busy and young. They're all under the age of 12. So lots of excitement in my life. So when Matthew and I were chatting about this opportunity to come and talk with you. What I shared with him is I think I would really love to talk about how you can make the most of 2024. Here we are at the beginning of the year, and what needs to happen in our businesses for us to have the kind of year that we want to have. And by the way, not just professionally, I would love it if also you had the kind of year that you wanted to have professionally and personally as well. And so I'm going to try to cram a lot into this. So forgive me if I talk fast. Also, I'm a bit of a Seinfeld character. I'm a low talker. So if you can't hear me, I'll move the microphone closer, but I think I'm doing okay right now. Yeah. I see some not good. All right, awesome. So Matthew, do I have the opportunity to share my screen?
You better believe it.
Okay, if you like me are a visual kind of person, I've built a slide for us. And so let me do that real quick. Let me do this deck here. Awesome. All right, and then let's go here. All right, you all see my screen? Okay, great. When you all went away, let me bring you back here full screen so I'm looking at you guys. You're more important. All right, so the idea here is I want to talk through a few different things. So 168 hours, creating your strategic plan for 2024. What would that look like? And then if we have time at the end, I'd love to talk to you about, once you have your plan in place, how do you build habits? Whenever I coach people, one of the things we talk about is literally what needs to change, not just, some things you can add into your business, but what needs to change in your habits as an individual when it comes to your business. And so we'll try to talk through that too if we have the time. If not, maybe we'll come back at a later date. This first thing, 168 hours, story time. So I went through this program. It was an MBA in entrepreneurship. And if you or somebody has been through an MBA program before, they're usually 2 years in length. Well, this was a fully accredited program, but it happened to be 1 year in length. And as a result, it was literally 100 hours per week. Now, does anybody know the significance of 168 hours? By the way, let's make this as interactive as possible. Please feel free to come off of mute as long as you don't have Barry Manilow playing in the background. Anybody know the significance of 168 hours? Math majors among us? It's 7. Yeah, Jackie, go for it.
Well, just other than it took me 168 hours to get licensed way back in the day. Other than that, I know no other significance, so.
Hey, a fun
Number of hours
coincidence.
in a day over the week.
That's right. Patrick, I think that's a week. 168 hours is a week. So go back to what I was saying. This program was 100 hours a week. Now, also in that same week, I got to sleep. I got to eat. I got to shower. I had to do all the things, right? Fun fact, my firstborn kiddo was born 4 days before that program started. How much do you think my wife liked me during that year? It was an interesting time. One of the early on exercises that they had me do, literally they had me take this document home to my wife and have her sign it, saying she wasn't going to divorce me while I was in the program. She was understanding that it was going to be 100 hours a week. And if you knew my wife, you would laugh your butt off at that. But 168 hours. So here's the exercise that they had us do. And I'm not going to have you do this now, but in your quiet moment, with your glass of Chardonnay, burning your stick of incense, whatever gets you in the sort of soulful mood, what is it that you want to accomplish in your life? I mean, literally, aside from real estate, set that aside for a second. What do you want to accomplish in your life? If you want to be more spiritually minded, right? You want to spend more time in your church, synagogue, mosque, whatever your denomination. Do you want to be involved in politics? Do you want to change the world through legislation and political candidates and things of that nature? How about you? You want to give you time, exercise. I see Brett at the gym and others. What are you going to invest in you? And most important, those of you who have spouses, significant others, kiddos, we were lied to our entire life. We were told that love is spelled Love, and it's not. It's spelled Time. And so when you think about the kind of person that you want to be, friend, father, mother, significant other, that's time. And just a weird question. You have all these things you want to do. How much time are you going to give that? Literally, how much time are you going to give it? Because it's going to take time. Mastering a skill, being there for others, all takes time. And the reason why I start with this kind of exercise, and literally what they had us do, by the way, in this program was grid it out. 7 days. What are you going to do during that 7-day period? And then rinse and repeat the next week. What was interesting, again, going through that program 100 hours a week, I was sitting there negotiating with myself, like, can I eat my bowl of cereal in the shower in the morning and save time? Do I really need to, have 8 hours of sleep? Can I get away with 7 hours and a half? But what's interesting is when you kind of think of it like this and you get really purposeful about your time, what you'll find is this Parkinson's law. Anybody know what Parkinson's law is? Parkinson's law says work will expand to the time you give it. And if you're very mindful about who you want to be as a person first, and then allocate your time to your business accordingly, you'll find that you're able to accomplish what you need to accomplish in your business and in your life. But if you try to do it the other way around, you're going to screw up. You're not going to get to the personal things that you want to. You're not going to be the person that you want to be for your loved ones. And that's where I start. When I think about my year, my wife and I are already talking about where we're going to go in December 2024. Right? And we already know where we're going in June. We already know where we're going in March. We've already planned out our family time for vacations. We know what the kids are going to be doing, camps and things like that. We know all that stuff before I even go to the business side of things, because that's important to us. We want to make sure that we set time aside for that. And for you, I would encourage you to do the same. And by the way, look, I would love it if we were all perfect people. We're not. You're going to screw up. You're going to miss things. That's okay. Give yourself grace. But do think through the things that you really want to accomplish on the personal side of things, and allocate the time to do that as you go through the year. I'm going to pause there. Questions, comments, concerns, excitements about that concept?
I'll just chime in. I think that's great. I'm putting in the chat right now that one of the things that I do, I'm very visual. Sounds like you are too. So my wife's a title rep. So they used to have these, big desk calendars, and I would say, babe, bring me home one. And I don't want it for my desk. I take it all apart, all 12 months, and I put it on my wall in my office, and I mark there in Sharpie all our vacations, as in plural vacations for the year, and our EXP events and all of that. And I got it all mapped out visually before, that's the priorities, is like vacations, family, time, events, those sort of things. And then I fill it in with work and, other sort of things.
Yeah, it's funny. I had a mentor, founder of a very famous company, who was just belligerent about his time. It is the one thing that he controlled ad nauseum. He would not let you interfere with his time. And he carried around one of those Franklin Covey day planners, those big ones, you fold it open and you're looking at the month. That's how he planned out his time. And that's, now I don't use the Franklin Covey, I use this. And if it's not in my calendar, I'm probably not going to show up. I mean, quite literally, I could show you my calendar. It literally has the times when I go and drop off my kids, like my daughters are in competitive dance, the times where we drop them off, the times where we pick them up, so on and so forth. I mean, it's there. Here's what's interesting. When you think about whoever your hero might be, financially speaking, right? Whoever your role model is, they have the same 24 hours in the day that you have. Mm-hmm. So why have they been so successful? It's time. They control their time. Elon Musk is, however you feel about him these days, he is a person who is very accomplished. I mean, running SpaceX, what's Skylink or Stellar Link, whatever his thing is there, Tesla, all the other companies that he's running and established. Dear Lord, he only has 24 hours in a day. But go YouTube Elon Musk's time system. He actually is very belligerent about his time, and he chunks it down to little bitty boxes. Those people who are most successful have figured out a way to create the success within a given time frame by being belligerent about their time. I was at the Milwaukee Regional Rally a couple of months ago, and a woman asked, she was a dual career agent, and she was asking about, can I be successful as a dual career agent? And I told her about a friend of mine. He was the number one agent in the country, literally across all brands, number one solo agent in the country, did 500 transactions in a single year, and does so pretty religiously. When he first started, he was actually in finance. He worked a 9 to 5 job in finance and commuted from where he lives in Rhode Island to Massachusetts every day. In his first 5 years of sales, he continued to do that job. By the time he quit his job, he was doing 140 transactions a year. He was working a 9 to 5, doing 140 transactions a year.
Wow.
And what you'll see when you, and he's shared his calendar with me before, what you'll see is he is very controlling of his time. And that's my comment to that individual. She came back and asked, well, but don't you have to kind of give in to them? And my statement to her is no, you don't. Here's an example. And I hope this is one tip that you implement right away. Never again ask the question, what time works for you? That will screw you up more than you think. Never again ask the question, what time works for you? Instead, ask the question, will this time work or that time work? And if neither of those work, great. Will this time work instead? Never again allow a client or anybody in your world to control your calendar unless they have that right. Spouse, significant other, what have you. Good luck with that one. But with everybody else, never again ask that question. It will, if you don't already do that, years from now when we're at EXPCon, you will want to come up and say, thank you so much, because that question changed my life too, by the way, the individual who told me that, because I was doing the same thing. I was out there letting everybody else control my calendar. So once you've got a sense of what you want to do personally, then the question becomes, okay, well, how do you fund that? How do you have the life that you want? Through real estate and through real estate sales, and what would it take to get there? And here's an interesting thought for you. Wherever you're at, Matthew, do you mind if I use you an example?
Sure. Yeah.
Do you mind sharing, and you can make up a number if you want to, do you mind sharing what your production was in 2023, volume or otherwise?
I actually don't know it because I'm phasing out of production due to my agent attraction and so on.
Okay.
But I know I capped, so I know it was, over 3 million or what have you, but
3 million. Okay, great. So whenever I've coached agents in the past, if I were to ask a $3 million producer, hey, what's your goal for this next year? Most of them are going to say 6. You ask a $10 million producer what their goal is, most of them are going to say 20, right? You can usually times 2, and that's what their goal is, somewhere along that lines. And here's an interesting way of thinking about it. So $3 million in production. When you think about your agent business, your lead generation sources, your lead conversion strategies, your business operations, your customer service strategies, all of that in your business today is designed to do exactly $3 million and not a penny more. Now, if you want to do more in your business, then there's 3 questions that you got to ask yourself. When I look at my business, there's 3 things: add, edit, delete. What are the things that I need to change in my business? Could be people if you're a team leader, maybe adding people. Yuckily enough, it could mean changing out people. Sorry, that's a bad area. I'm not going to go into that. But what are the things that need to change in your business? Could be lead generation sources. You got to up the spend or up the effort on them, whatever that might be. What do you need to change in your business? Add. What do you need to add to your business? What is it that a $10 million producer does that a $5 million producer doesn't do? What do you need to add to your business? Could be additional lead generation sources, not necessarily getting rid of those effective lead generation sources, but adding to them with complementary lead generation sources. And then finally, delete. I was at Chick-fil-A does this, or used to do this annual leadership thing every year. And they had, I think it was Truett Cathy Sr., who's the guy who actually founded Chick-fil-A. And I think it was him, and he was talking about how he had two lists on either side of his desk, his to-do list and his stop doing list. And what he said was, I can't put anything on my to-do list unless I put something on my stop doing list.
Hmm.
And today there's things that you're doing as a $3 million producer that's going to hold you back from being a $6 million producer. And what is that? And so when we talk about your strategic plan, I look at this as different from a business plan, right? Business plan is, well, I can do so many sales and how to generate this and that or the other. A strategic plan concerns itself with, yeah, but how do I do that? If you were to try to tell me that, hey, I'm doing 10 widgets a day right now, but I need to do 12, my question to you would be, okay, well, what needs to change in your daily habits for you to be able to do that? What needs to change in your business for you to be able to do that? And so when we talk about a strategic plan, here's where my mind goes. If you've not read this book, The 4 Disciplines of Execution, it is a great book. It's a very quick read, by the way. It's 200 some odd pages, but really the first 100 pages explains the 4 disciplines. The next concerns themselves with implementation inside of teams and things like that. But I'm going to walk you through this high level. I'll give you these slides afterward if you like. I'll walk you through it high level and give you a sense of when we say 4 disciplines of execution, what does that mean? So discipline 1, determining what they call your wildly important goal, your WIG. And by the way, I eat my own dog food. My team and I just went through this planning process I'm about to share with you now. Anytime I work with a team, this is how we approach it as a team. Team leaders on this call, I know most are solo agents, but any team leaders on this call, I'd highly encourage you to involve your team in the strategic planning process. I was speaking with a group of team leaders the other day, and I asked them, hey, if I were to go to the team members on your team and ask them, how many of them know what the goal is, know what the strategic plan to go get that goal is, know their role in that strategic plan, and also know how they can support the rest of the team in their roles on that strategic plan, how many of them would answer all 4 questions affirmatively? Crickets in the room. Crickets in the room. And that's pretty standard. We're all entrepreneurial. We move fast. What I've found is by involving my team in this process, all 4 questions get answered, and we can move a lot faster and a lot more effectively as a team. That's an aside for team leaders. For the rest of the folks on here, back to the original scheduled program here, when you think about your WIG, we're not trying to boil the ocean. And I think that's one of the biggest differences when creating a strategic plan versus a business plan. Business plans oftentimes concern themselves with boiling the ocean. Here, what's the one metric that if everything else remained the same, if you change that, it would have the greatest impact in your business, right? What is that? What is that metric? And they say to define it beginning with a verb, and then X to Y by when. Look at your lag metric, and I'll talk about lead and lag metrics in a second. But lag metrics are the results. Lead metrics are the things that lead to the results. What is that lag metric that needs to change from X to Y and by when? Now, for most of us as real estate professionals, that's probably going to be some sort of productivity metric. Units, volume, whatever metric that you want to use. Personally, when I coach to units, not volume, because unless you change price points in terms of going from middle of the road to like luxury, you really don't control the market price. What you do control are units and how many of them you do. So if you think about it in those terms, what's your goal? How many units are you at, and where do you want to go? I have one client that I used to have who wanted to go from 300 units per year to 500 units per year. That was her goal. She had a big team. And so for us, that was sort of the North Star. All right, so let's go construct a plan that gets us to 500 deals per year. And that's what we did. So when you think about your WIG, they're going to be battle WIGs. So if your goal is to go from 300 deals per year to 500 deals per year, what are the 3 battle WIGs that you need to go accomplish in order to achieve that? And again, you may have a smaller goal, and that's just fine. I'm just using that as an example. If you want to go from 10 deals per year to 20, Okay, what are the three major areas that need to get accomplished in order to achieve that? Battle wigs all level up to the war wig. Win the battles, you'll win the war. And so what are those three areas? Now, by the way, for most of us as agents, it's going to be some combination of lead generation, right? How do I generate the leads necessary to do that? Some sort of conversion system. Team leaders, you may be talking about people, recruitment to your team. For solo agents, you may be talking about your customer service systems, getting better at nailing the listing presentation to increase your conversion rates there, whatever the case might be. And then operations, right? If you're going to go from 10 deals per year to 20 deals per year, or go from 50 to 100, you're going to need to change some things about your business. Some of your business systems are going to need to change. May mean incorporating CRM, may mean incorporating transaction coordination, may mean hiring a VA, something along that lines, showing specialists, some sort of operational change in your business to allow you to go do that. Those would be battle wigs. Okay. Those three major things. What are those three major things that if I just did these three things, I'd accomplish that war wig? You got some examples here, and I'll send this to you. I'm not going to spend too much time on this. So discipline 2, act on the lead measures. Show of hands, how many of you came from a traditional brokerage, brick and mortar? Okay, great. Okay, good. A couple of you. If you were to go into a traditional brick and mortar office and you walk into the back room, and you all know the back room I'm talking about, what's on the wall? What's on the wall in the back room?
Listings and pending sales.
Yeah, there you go. Thanks, Patrick. Yeah, the whiteboard with the dry erase marker. You know, Patrick has this number of listings and this number of pendings. Those are lag metrics. Now, fortunately, we happen to be in a very simplistic business. Simple, not easy, but it is simplistic. And the problem with this industry is we've got about 1.5 million of us that like to screw things up. But otherwise, it's a very simple thing. If you tell me, hey, I want to produce this much money, this much GCI out of my business, I can easily tell you through conversion rates, then, you know, if this is how much you want to make, well, then based on your sales price, your commission rate, whatever that might be, this is just an example, not saying you should use that commission rate. Don't look good in orange. Whatever your split might be, if you're a team member or whatever, I can tell you, okay, well, in that case, this is how many transactions you need. And if I know how many transactions you need based on fall through rates from contract to close, from agreement to contract, from appointment to agreement, and from contacts to appointments, I can tell you, well, if this is what you want to do in your business, well, then this is how many daily contacts and this is how many weekly appointments you should be setting for yourself. It's very simple, very straightforward. And so when we talk about lead measures, those are the lead measures. Here's an interesting thing. When I coach clients in a former life, I didn't really talk about results a whole lot. We monitored them, and from time to time we would check in with the results. But really our everyday conversation was on activities. Because, you know, I don't know about you, I've known some of the top agents in this industry, and there's this sort of mythology that those top agents are exceptionally brilliant and exceptionally social and all that. They're not. They're not. I'm not saying they're dumb. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that's not why they were so successful. They were so successful because they were willing to do what other people weren't. A good friend of mine was a #1 realtor at Prudential and then the #1 realtor at Keller Williams for years. And he will tell you himself, he's an introvert. He doesn't exceptionally like people per se. But the reason why he was able to do the level of production he was able to do is because he got after it. And he just did those activities every single day. So what are those lead measures, those lead metrics for you as you think through what your goal is what are your lead metrics and how can you track those? How can you track those? That's a really key piece of knowing whether or not you're on track. Here's the weird thing about our business. Years ago, I kind of made up this concept. I call it the sleep number. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine at the time, Tim. Now, Tim was 24 years old. He'd been in the business 2 years, and he was already making over $2 million in GCI. He was in my office, and I asked him, "How did you do that? What did you do?" And his answer was really simple: 30 contacts a day, 30 new contacts a day. Did not leave the office until he had made 30 new contacts a day. And he was right. I had actually seen him be at the office late making his contacts. And I compared and contrasted that with my mom. My mom was an agent for 30 years as well. And dating myself, we, as a family, we would VCR Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy. And as a family, each night when, dinner was done, we'd go into the living room, we'd watch these shows. It seemed like almost every other night, the VCR would get paused because the phone would ring. And it didn't matter what time of night it was. Mom would jump up from the couch, pause the show, and we'd all have to sit there and listen to her talk about some listing somewhere that she was going to go show or whatever, and have a sales call in the middle of our family time. Because Mom, like a lot of agents, never knew when to shut it off. And for a lot of us, if we don't have a closing that day or a closing tomorrow, we don't know when the job is done. And so for me, the reason why I like tools like this is because I don't care if you're Forrest Gump. Once you've done the math and you know what your daily goal is, go hit that goal. Whether you got a closing today or tomorrow, it doesn't matter. If you're doing the activities purposefully, intently, and professionally, you're going to get the results. Honestly, you are going to get the results. You can always script better. You can always learn techniques and strategies to get better. But if you're doing the brute force work of doing the activities, the results will show up, period. And so for me, that's that lead measure. Whatever that is, be diligent about pushing yourself to achieve that on a daily basis, however you want to do it. I was sharing with the group the other day, I did this exercise. It was this kind of contest with 30 teams, and each of the teams had 6 people. These were team leaders who'd called 6 people from their team. And the idea, we called it the 6,000. The idea was in 1 month time, each team had to do 6,000 contacts. 6,000 contacts. Now, if you break that down, that's 1,000 contacts per person. It's 250 contacts per week. And these are new contacts, by the way. We had people going to Barnes & Noble, standing at the magazine rack. Go, "Hey, Brian Ellington, pleased to meet you, eXp Realty." We have people going to the concession stand at a sporting event, just standing there meeting people. That is the kind of thing I'm talking about. That's a little extreme, but by the way, a friend of mine, Lance in Houston, by the Monday of the 3rd week, his team of 6 had set 17 listing appointments. In 2 weeks, they'd set 17 listing appointments one day. So when it comes to doing these activities, I'm telling you, if you get religious about that, treat that sacred, you will see the results. And here's the cool thing in our business. It doesn't matter how you do it. I look at Suman Kim here in Austin, 140 transactions from YouTube. There's a gentleman we spoke with as part of a research project we're doing right now. He did 24 transactions in his first year from open houses. I don't care how you meet them. Go meet them. Bring some discipline to contacting the people you know, a certain number of them each day, and then adding to the people that you know through meeting people you don't each day, and the results will show up. That's it. That's all it takes. Everything else is administrative work. If you get focused on that, you will grow your business. 3, keep a compelling scoreboard. What's interesting, and thanks, Patrick, for saying that, if you were to go into an office that was true high functioning, you would see a compelling scoreboard that not only had the lag metrics, but the lead metrics as well. So one of the reasons why teams often use Sisu or some tool like that. so that they can track those lead metrics on their team and make sure that people are doing the activities, follow up boss, what have you. As a solo agent, I'd encourage you just a simple, written system on your desk each day. Didn't I make my contact goal? Didn't I make my appointment goal each week? Something that allows you to see, how am I on track? Am I doing the things that I need to be doing? And how is that showing up in the results? Because when you track those two things, what you'll realize quickly is, where are my deficiencies? If I'm making contacts, but I'm not getting appointments, likely I've got a scripting issue, or I'm not closing hard enough for the business. If I'm setting appointments, but not getting agreements, well, that's because I'm really not well scripted in my presentation, and I'm not closing hard enough in the end to get the business, so on and so forth. When you track your metrics, you will see where the deficiencies are, and then you can quickly amend those, do something, training, coaching, whatever, to shore up your deficiencies. Finally, a cadence of accountability. This is where a lot of us fall flat, because we got into this business for freedom. Well, unless freedom includes poverty in its definition, that's probably not what you want to be in this business for. Freedom is about, having the resources you need in life to do the things you want to do with it. And if you don't have those resources, I don't know how much freedom you bought yourself. So when it comes to accountability, I would say find somebody. Could be a coach, could be your sponsor, Matthew, somebody like that. Whoever is willing to sit with you once a week and help you with the conversation of, what did you do and what were your results? And now what are you going to go do as a result of that? An accountability relationship really concerns itself with 7 questions. What's your drive? Why are you even doing this? What was your goal? Meaning activities. What was your goal? How'd you do? How do you feel about that? Based on that, what are you going to go do now? What tools, training, resources do you need in order to go do that? And how committed to doing that by X date are you? Those are the basic accountability questions, coaching questions. Find somebody in your world who's willing to ask you those questions on a regular basis, and hold yourself accountable to cherishing that person and their time in that conversation and showing up purposefully in that conversation. I'm telling you, it will change your world. So those are the 4 disciplines of execution. And so once you understand that, now let's talk about creating your strategic plan. Before I jump in, questions, comments, concerns, excitements.
Can you share all of those, Brian? This is amazing. Can you share all of this, that slide deck?
I sure will. Matthew, can I send it to you afterwards and trust you to disseminate?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And those
All right.
questions you just said, I don't know if it was the slide before that. You said like 5 or 6 questions. That was incredible. And maybe those are just in the book. I just bought the book on Audible. But can you share those questions too, if they're not already in the slide?
They're not in the slide, but
Then I'll just write them down. I'll watch the recording and write them down.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
If you don't have them
recorded.
handy, no worries.
Yeah, absolutely. No, they're
Okay.
not in the book. It just comes from years of having done this. But
Thank you.
those are the accountability questions. And by the way, team leaders, if you're building a team, those are the questions you want to be asking your team members on a regular basis. Not necessarily by rote, by the way. It's a more fluid conversation than that, but those are the basic topics of conversation in a coaching relationship. So going back to what I said before, building your strategic plan. So your wig, 1 wig, 3 battle wigs. Underneath each battle wig, what are the 5 tactics that you're going to take to go achieve that? And then what are the 3 blockers that might impede your success? If you need to get into expireds, right? You want to go after more listings, but you don't know anything about expireds and how to go about them. Well, you better get into training, right? That's going to be a blocker. Whatever those things are, what are you going to do to address those? What one proactive measure are you going to take to make sure that blocker doesn't get in your way? And so once you have those things in mind, now we can build our plan. And I've got a series of questions here for you to ask yourself. If you're a team leader, for you to sit down with your team and have these kinds of questions. By the way, as an aside, what I do, and I've done this across multiple teams now in my career, is I sit down and I read that book with them, The 4 Disciplines of Execution. And we do one discipline per week over a 4-week period. And I'm asking these questions. Okay, we just read about the wildly important goal. What is ours? And I'm seeking their wisdom, and I'm sharing my thoughts on it as well. And we arrive together as a team. I have a definitive point of view of what our WIG should be, but I'm also kind of leader that really values my people's insights and opinions. And it's always been the case when I go through this process with them that somebody either comes with an idea I never would have thought of, or pluses one of the ideas that I had. And so team leaders, I'd really encourage you to do that. By the way, one of the things that you get when you do this process with your team, buy-in. You get buy-in. Speaking of which, literally when I'm done, I create this strategic plan, and it's a 1-page plan. It shouldn't be like a 30-page tomb or anything like that. It's a 1-page plan. Literally, we sign it at the end. We just did that yesterday. The university team for EXP University, we just signed our document yesterday as a team. And that's our way of committing to this as a team and making sure that we're all saying, okay, this is the plan we created. Now we're going to go get it. For you individually, solo agents, I would seek out a trusted advisor, create this plan and go put it in front of them. Say, poke holes in it. This is what I do. I literally create the plan and I say, this is my draft keyword. Here's a red pen, add, edit, delete. Tell me what I did wrong. Tell me what I missed. Change what you think is an okay idea and make it a great idea. And I give them that leeway to come with brilliance. And they always do, by the way. They always do. So construct your strategic plan. What's your WIG? The 3 battle WIGs, we talked about that. And it could be more than 3, but I'd be very cautious. Again, we don't want to boil the ocean. If you can't clearly articulate in 3 big battle WIGs what it would take to achieve your WIG, I'd go back and rethink some things. And there's some questions here for you too. Is it a battle WIG or a tactic under a battle WIG? How do we know that battle WIG has been accomplished? Is there a metric we can track with that? One of the stories they talked about in the 4 disciplines of execution, that the shoe salesperson who is crushing it compared to their peers. And they said, well, how are you doing that? Well, what the shoe salesperson was doing is every time the customer said, hey, I want a size 11.5 in this shoe, he'd go, great, go back to the stock room, bring out that shoe a size 11.5 and bring out a couple of others in a similar style, but different in the same shoe size. They ended up selling multiple shoes to people. Well, they wanted all the shoe people to do that. Now, how do you get them to do that? Well, their solution was put a clipboard at the register. Every time they made a sale, how many shoes did you show this customer, right? Simple tracking. But is there a metric that you need to be tracking to know whether or not you're going to be on track to your goal? And if so, include that in here. And then your 5 tactics. Here's where you got to resist the temptation. One of the things they say in the book is the hardest thing is not saying no to a bad idea. It's saying no to a good idea that doesn't align with the goal. We all have these pet projects that we want to do, some things we've been meaning to do in our business that we think would kind of be cool. But if it doesn't line up with the goal, don't include it in the plan. And if you really, really want to do it, hold yourself accountable to first achieving the plan and then go do that fun pet project thing. And that's the standing rule on all my teams. You know, if you come with a great idea, I may not say no. I may say no, but I may not say no. I may say not yet. Let's go do this first. It doesn't line up with the goal that we set for ourselves as a team. So yeah, we could go do that, but first we want to go achieve this. And then when we're standing on that mountaintop, then we'll do what you're talking about doing. Right?
So Brian, just to give you a little time check. We're getting close to the end. Got a couple minutes.
Okay.
I knew you would be, tons of information bringing it to the table here. So.
Well, good. And by the way, I hope this is helpful. Like I said, I this was purely bonus at the end here. So let me pause then there and kind of let you guys take back over. When it comes to creating your strategic plan, where do you struggle? You're all awesome at it. You set a plan every year and crush it every single year.
I'm off mute, you guys. Come on. This is interactive.
I would say,
Brian?
I'd say planning's not the issue, it's execution and follow
Hmm.
through.
Yeah.
So I'd say if there was a struggle there, I'm clear what I need to do. It's probably just getting it all done.
And Patrick, thank you for saying that, by the way. Could you maybe go a little deeper, either give me a concrete example of where that's happened, or give me the area of execution that hangs you up the most?
Uh, um, trying to think.
I'm putting you on the spot.
Yeah, no,
Um,
I would say, not getting derailed. You know, when you have multiple plans, but they're not all business related too. So, you know,
yeah.
whether it be family requirements,
Mhm.
you mentioned earlier, clients waylaying time that would be set aside for prospecting, and then suddenly dealing with some craziness. I think you had
Yeah.
on one of your slide decks, the whirlwind, is staying focused in the inevitable chaos that this business is.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a
Mm,
problem for us all. I had a mentor early on who said to me, never let today's business get in the way of tomorrow's business. Interesting that agent I was talking about, the guy doing 500 transactions a year. It's funny, he prioritized his time based on whether or not you were new to him. He would set a new appointment ahead of an existing client appointment, and would even reschedule existing client appointments
mm,
if he had somebody new come into his world, because that was the priority. Um, yeah, it's a struggle for us all. And I would say that two things, because what's interesting, you said family, they can be one of the biggest interrupters to our world. What's interesting is I have 4 children, and that over there is the guest bathroom downstairs, right? That's the guest bathroom. My kids is wonderful, and as much as I love them, they know that when dad's in here, they'll knock on the door. They'll knock, and there's obvious exceptions, right? But they know, because I've clearly communicated to them how important what dad's doing in here is, and that they know that when I'm available. Question I'd have for you is, does everybody else in your world, if I called your voicemail right now, would I hear, "Hi, this is Brian Ellington. Thanks so much for your call. Please leave your name and number at the beep and let me know what I can help you with. And by the way, I'll be checking voicemails today between 12 noon and 1 p.m. and 4 p.m. and 5 p.m. Looking forward to talking with you." Would I hear that, or would I hear just a generic leave a message at the beep? Meaning, are you setting proper expectations with people?
mm,
Because conflict arises when expectations are missed. And our concerns about not getting back to clients as quickly as possible comes from the fact that we haven't set those expectations properly with them.
mhm.
When it
Yeah,
comes to, go ahead,
I
Matt.
just wanted to jump in one thing. You made a comment earlier that I think would be easily missed by most people, but I understand it. I want to bounce it off you, make sure I understand. You said, your mentor said, do not let today's business get hindering tomorrow's business, right? Something
That's
like
right.
that, right?
Mhm.
And how I understand that, and I've been in this 28 years with a lot of top producers. You know, we have Tom Daves, who's the #1 producer in the world for Keller Williams for 7 years. So he's an absolute beast at discipline and prospecting, and just so disciplined, right? And I had an office a couple down from him for many years at the KW office. So I got to see his work ethic and all this stuff. And there's other people in our market, the Rick Dumonts and all that, that are super disciplined. They have scheduled out prospecting time, 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever. They'd even put a light or a sign on the door, do not interrupt.
That's
And
right.
there are always fires that come up when we're doing business. You know, people calling, I need this, I need that. We got to this. We don't have the well report. I need, blah, blah, blah. And it's so easy to go into putting out that fire of today's business. I got to do it right now, thinking maybe a mindset of I got to provide the best service. But the reality is it's hindering your future business tomorrow, because it's the cadence of doing a daily discipline of prospecting, which is tomorrow's business, that continues to have you become a top producer and takes down these ebbs and flows that most realtors have, really highs and extreme lows, because
Yeah.
they are putting out fires all the time rather than being disciplined in their time blocking and having their prospecting. And those that do that, that have the discipline, their ups and it's more like this. It's
Yeah.
super consistent, right?
Yeah, well, so it's funny is how do you know that the fire is erupting? Now there's a self-indicting question.
Oh, yeah.
Because if you didn't pick up the phone and if you didn't check the email or you didn't check the text, you wouldn't even know that the fire was erupting.
Absolutely.
By the way, right now, my workplace chat is probably going crazy. My email is probably going crazy. My phone, which is on mute and do not disturb, is probably going crazy. I wouldn't know it. And after this call is done, I'm going to say, hey, I apologize for the delay in getting back to you. I was on with a group of awesome agents, helping them build their business. How can I help you?
Mhm.
Here's my experience is two things. One is it is very rare that whatever that email, text, phone call was is going to be the death of a deal.
Exactly.
Very rare,
Yeah.
very rare. And two is the only reason why you would care that that deal was dead is because you didn't have four more right after it, so to speak. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't want any deal to fall apart, but you really care when it falls apart if that's the only deal you got in your hopper. And that would only be the case if you weren't following some sort of discipline for you. Now, look, we're not automatons, we're not robots, right? We are humans, and things happen. You know, kids get sick, you got to go pick them up. You don't have a choice there. There are a few exceptions, but they are exceptions. And when those occur, here's something that they said in the book, right? This is Atomic Habits. I was going to share with you, and I think this is kind of I think we're probably pretty close to the end here, so this
Yeah.
might be our last bit. But what he said was, I'm trying to find the page, is that one miss isn't the end of the world. I'm paraphrasing here. One miss isn't the end of the world. It's two misses that is now the creation of a new habit, a wrong habit, right? So allow yourself the grace, but don't let yourself off the hook. If your goal is X number of calls per day, are you the kind of person who makes X number of calls per day? Or are you trying to make X number of calls per day? Because if you're the kind of person who makes X number of calls per day, if life happens and gets in the way, and you are still going to do whatever you can with the time that you have. If you don't get the full 3-hour block, you only have 1 hour. Cool. How many calls can you make in an hour? And by the way, if you don't get it done today, but you know it needs to get done in order to fuel your goal, how many more calls are you going to make tomorrow? That's it. That's all we're talking about. Brett, you're at the gym. Are you the kind of person who exercises? Or are you the kind of person who says, well, I've got this call I need to listen into, so maybe I'll just go to the gym some other day? Or are you the kind of person who figures out, you know what? I got headphones. I can listen while I work. That's it. That's all it is. Figuring out a way. Once you are clear about what your goal is, figuring out how do I make that happen? And when, not if, life gets in the way, what am I going to do about it? Who am I as a person?
I love it. Well, hey, boy, such great information. I know we could go on more and more and more. There's just an unlimited wealth of knowledge and resources. That's why we hired you as our chief learning officer. So thank you for carving out the time and blocking it out. I'm glad I got to you early so that nobody else took the time from us with you. I do want to give a little plug here. So this happens every Wednesday, tell your real estate buddies, even those, you can utilize this for those that, are not much into agent attraction, but you got some real estate buddies at other real estate companies. This is free. You could bring guests that are at Remax or Better Homes and Gardens, whatever, right? This is not a closed meeting. We want to give value to all those in real estate. And that's where you can really move the needle and start building some agent attraction, start building some additional income stream coming in, is leverage these events. This is an event. This is a weekly event every Wednesday at 9 a.m. PST. And it usually goes anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes. We went a little long because we got a special guest today. And then on Fridays, Tom, our one and only number one agent in the world, 7 times with KW, Tom Daves, does Freedom Friday. It's at the same bat channel, same bat time, 9 a.m. Pacific. He brings in top guests and trainers and speakers and so on there as well. So in the aspect of time blocking and managing your calendar rather than the calendar managing, you putting out fires all the time, you should time block our weekly team meeting. And I'm probably preaching to the choir because you're all here, but it's 9 a.m., block out to 9:45 and do the same on Friday. And just make it a cadence to show up every time and stay plugged in, because it's hard for a light and a light bulb to turn on if it's not plugged in. So if you want to be illuminating yourselves and being at most current information, you need to be plugged in to this resource that we bring to you every week. So with that, Brian, thank you so much for showing up today. Thanks for taking the position of CLO. I'm excited to see what you put in place and what you bring here this year of 2024. And thank you all for showing up today. Appreciate you guys.
Brian, thank you.
Really
Thank you for
appreciate it,
having
Brian.
me.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate you letting me come play.
Yeah. And he's super accessible. Like he said, workplace chat. Okay. So you can find him on Workplace. If you got, I know Treva, we didn't get a chance to get to you, my friend. Send Brian an individual, Workplace. He'll get to you in between appointments.
Yeah, please do. All right,
So-
gang.
All right,
Happy
you guys.
Wednesday.
God bless. Make it an amazing rest of your day. Take care.
Bye, y'all.